I'll play you a clip of Kamala Harris on Jimmy Kimmel last night.
Let's think about this. A jury of 12 people, Piers, over the course of 6 weeks, deliberated on the evidence and facts and unanimously determined guilt for 34 felony counts. There was a defense attorney who actively participated in selecting that jury, who actively made decisions about witnesses to call, witnesses to cross-examine, and the jury made their decision. And, you know, I think that the reality is cheaters don't like getting caught. And being held accountable.
Benny, your reaction to that?
No, I don't know if Kamala Harris is talking about her personal life there and her history, her long history in the California political system. Cheaters don't like getting caught. She would definitely know how to rig a jury, considering what she did as a California attorney general. But I'll say this when it comes to cheating, and it's very interesting. She says, cheaters don't like getting caught. So here's my question to my fellow panelists here, and I ask it respectfully, and I hope that we don't interrupt each other. I love the vibrant conversation and debate on this program. Was Joe Biden cheating or engaging in interfering in an election when he sicked the current Secretary of State, his name's Antony Blinken, on rounding up members of the intel community to declare that his son's laptop, which is 100% real and holds within it at least 400 federal crimes, was actually fake and Russian disinformation. Now, that happened right before an election.
It did.
Far closer to an election.
Right. Let's just start off with he wasn't the president.
And most importantly,
I'm not even gonna get
and Donald
to your
Trump
argument.
wasn't a president. Please let me finish. Donald Trump wasn't a president when allegedly this payment happened.
You're right.
He was not. He was not. He was not.
Right. He was cheating. Joe cheated. You're right. So
is Joe Biden cheating? So because yesterday, just really quick, because something remarkable happened in Delaware. The federal government introduced Hunter Biden's laptop against him as a piece of evidence that they have confirmed beyond a shadow of a doubt is Hunter Biden's. So Joe Biden knew he was
they're
lying.
treating both sides equally. That is the point. You're saying that he's a victim, Donald Trump's the victim, and they don't go after the Democrats. But now you gave yourself an example of how the federal government, the justice system under Joe Biden, is going after.
So should Joe Biden be charged? Should Joe Biden be charged for the same thing?
It was his son. That's the
guy who did it is Secretary of State right now. The guy who organized the Russian disinformation letter is the Secretary of State. The people who signed that letter, there have been zero consequences. They knew they were lying to the American people. They were rigging an election.
We have been teaching people how to grow online. It's been absolutely amazing. We have 3 people who have been able to reach monetization in less than 30 days. Growing YouTube channels, some from 0 people. We have one guy who had 2 subscribers before he started working with me. He started helping him. His views went up 4.8 million%. We're super excited. If anybody ever want to grow on YouTube, you reach out to me with the word coach.
But can you admit that now they're going after both sides equally? You said just a few minutes ago, oh, Donald Trump, the Republicans, they're always being prosecuted. They're Stalinists. But here's an example of the Biden justice system going after his own son. Can you admit that this justice system is treating both sides equally?
Not so clear. Not so clear. They're trying him in Delaware, where he has all the tremendous advantages, and they tried Trump in New York, where he had all the disadvantages. We'll see what the outcome of the case is.
Also where they were based.
They're handling him with kitty gloves, ma'am. What is her name? Does anybody know her name, bro? I feel like an idiot right now. I swear I don't know her name, and I'm certain that they named her in the beginning. I'm gonna have to go back to the beginning just to see her name, but she don't want to hear any part of that. She don't want to. Benny just broke it down as to why if it's important now and it's a real thing now, but they lied then and said that it wasn't then he was clearly lying so that people wouldn't have that in the back of their mind when they went to the polling booth to vote for him. And if that was actual evidence at that point, there could potentially not ever have been of President Biden, potentially. Because we already know that if a lot of people would have seen everything that was on that daggone laptop, and we would have been able to discuss it ad nauseum without fear of being banned or kicked off of certain social media networks like Twitter at the time, which also came out that some 3-letter agencies was actually working with the company of Twitter, with the company Twitter at the time, to make sure that this information did not get out. It was not shared or anything. And big content creators lost their channels, lost their platforms on Twitter at the time for sharing some of that information. It's not the same. It really is not the same. So, wow.
Okay, let me ask David a question. This is about the Wall Street Journal big report today about Joe Biden's cognitive decline.
Thank you,
they
Tate.
spoke with 45 Republican and Democratic lawmakers and staffers. It was pretty unsettling reading, I have to say. It seemed pretty clear by the time I finished it that Joe Biden is suffering some form of dementia. That was the clear conclusion from those who've been around him. And we see enough in public to suggest that may be the case. How comfortable are you that he is going to be fighting this election and potentially being president for 4 more years?
Well, worst case scenario, they both are struggling cognitively, in which case I'd much rather the people around Biden making decisions than the sycophants Trump would put around him, which, with no offense at all, are sort of versions of Benny Johnson, by the way. And the audience, I'm sure we could have a beer together, Benny, and have a great time, but it's not like I necessarily want the government run by people like you. So I think worst case scenario, worst case scenario, they're both struggling. You know, at this point, I've interviewed 4 medical and mental health professionals, 2 from mental health, 2 from the neurology side. So far, they've all told me Joe Biden is experiencing age-related aging that you would expect for someone of his age. Trump seems to be seriously cognitively struggling, where he doesn't realize he's saying things that don't make sense. He doesn't realize that he's getting names completely wrong, stories that don't make sense, doesn't know who he ran against, doesn't know who he's running against, doesn't know who he ran against in 2016 or who's president right now. I mean, a level of confusion. And again, I'm neither a neurologist nor a mental health expert. This is what the mental health experts have told me. Now, I will say, I read the article. Some of the sourcing is people that MAGA Mike Johnson talked to. That's not super compelling to me. However, I do think Annie Linsky is a trustworthy reporter. I am not pretending this story isn't out there, and I cover it on my show today. I think it's a serious story.
If Donald Trump came out and said that his great uncle had been shot down and then eaten by cannibals, and it turned out that he hadn't been shot down or eaten by cannibals, you would probably lead a cry of, this man is not fit to be president, wouldn't you?
Yeah, maybe I would. I mean, Trump has made stuff up about his uncle developing nuclear weapons or something just as ridiculous. And so I think we have examples of both. I don't know that they're super compelling one way or the other.
Okay.
By the vice president
Alan?
here. That's why the presidency here is more important than in any election since Franklin Roosevelt in 1944, because whoever is the vice president will be the next president.
Right.
And if I were the Republicans, I put up the strongest, most presidential person, Nikki Haley, for example, or somebody like that, to run Kamala. If Trump tends to pick somebody just who is somebody helping get president, helping get elected, but wouldn't be a good president, that would be a terrible mistake. This is a race for who's going to be the next president, not only who's going to be president.
Okay, Benny, I want to give you the last word because Sienna Miller, the actress, has.
I wish the lawyer guy would have had a microphone, because he was making a whole lot of sense in his statements. He was being more fair. He was bringing more fair arguments to the panel, not super left leaning, not super right leaning at all. He was very much fair, and he actually worked with Trump, but he said some things that could potentially be damning to Trump if you're the type of person that's just looking for something to hold over Trump's head to use on your one-sided platform that you're on. But I think that he was extremely fair, in my opinion.